Okay, so hello and welcome to Hope Warrior. I am FayDay and you're on the FayDay Show, Hope Warrior, and we are literally united around the notion of hope, healing, and wholeness. And I am joined today by two people that are among my favorite people on the planet, Christin Pickle from Oregon Youth Authority.
Hello.
Right here. And my foster son, and I just call him son, Chris Rosas from Beaverton, right now?
Yeah, I'm in Beaverton.
Okay, so why don't you update us, Christian, because I know you're not feeling good today, and tell a little bit about your experience in Oregon Youth Authority, and then Christian will talk a little bit about kind of how people can get involved. For me, just to let them know, Chris was in my house for 2 years, and I consider him very much a huge part of my family, and his family a part of my family. And so his sister, his brother, his mom and dad, and their uncles and everybody. So that's this wonderful young man that's on screen with you. So tell about your experience in Oregon Youth Authority, like from the beginning. Can you just start a little bit about kind of how you got to Youth Authority just for a second?
Like charges wise? Or
yeah, that maybe just the short version of that.
I mean, I used to get in trouble a lot, and I had to go away for a little bit. Then I ended up going to a program called P180, and home wasn't that good. So I didn't think I was gonna graduate, but my probation officer from Hawaii wanted me to graduate, so he put me in Proctor Care. Then from Proctor Care, I went to another house, and then an incident happened there. Then I ended up going to Faye's house. Then when I got to Faye's house, all we did was work, and go to school, and that was the routine, and yeah, she didn't want me to go home until I graduated high school. So if it probably wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have graduated high school. And she helped me save up money for a car as soon as I got out. And
What kind of car did you buy?
I bought a Mercedes Benz.
Nice.
And she was a good support that I needed, and it was a good experience with the Oregon Youth Authority. My PO was great. I had a good support system. I was supported at home. I was supported with school. Faye's also a teacher, so yeah, I had a pretty good help.
So how did your PO support you? I just want to have a little bit of clarity on that. What are some ways that he did that?
I had two POs. So I mean, one would come more than the other, and we would go do activities and stuff. And they would be connected with the youth more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, it wasn't like the 2 years were without any struggles for you. You had some personal.
No, there was ups and downs.
Yeah, and so how did the PO assist in those times? Because those were the notable things for me. It's not when things are going easy. It's easy for a PO to support.
They were pretty flexible. It's just when they had to slam the hammer, they slammed the hammer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But other than that, they were pretty good. They were good people. They really cared about the kids, and them doing better.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed
and doing change.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is you got a lot of visits from the PO, not just when not when you were only in trouble, because you hardly were in trouble, really. Just had a couple of incidences in 2 years. So you got a lot of visits from everybody at OYA.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was amazed at.
Yeah.
Were there any other program things that OYA had for you that helped you?
Honestly, the only really thing that really helped me was the Proctor Care with Oregon Youth Authority.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what really touched me. But yeah.
Okay. So you had a couple really good foster homes. You were with Christine Lowry and her husband who passed away, Chris,
Yeah.
and that was a sad and tragic thing for you. It was on
Yeah.
your foster father's birthday. And I remember doing respite care for you prior to that. And at one point saying, if you ever need a foster home, I want you to call us for respite care. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And you know how I knew you were a good kid?
How?
Because I handed you Ellie, my little dog, at the center one day. And I said, would you watch her while I go to a meeting? And you did. And you took great care of her.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah,
I knew
I remember.
that's the kid. I'd have that kid in my home any day.
And you did.
And I did. and it was a joy having you, Chris. It really was. So my question for you is, are you still in touch with Levi?
No, I haven't been in touch with Levi. I lost his number.
Okay. I'll get that back to you, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Because I think that's he really loves you, and I'm sure he'd love hearing from you as well. Yeah. So what are you doing now? Tell people, update with what you're up to these days.
Right now I work construction. I work construction full time, and something big just happened. Something big just happened for you. And I just got my apartment with my friends. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting somewhere slowly but surely.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard living with people. Yeah,
it's hard.
It's awesome. But that's part of the learning process. One of the things that I remember after you went back home is I called you and you said, "Guess what I'm doing?" And do you remember what you said?
No, I don't remember.
You said you were making turkey dinner.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the things that we did really big at our house at Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we even took Thanksgiving to your house, didn't we?
She would she would make some buns.
Those buns are good. Homemade buns. I know, you got to come down and get some. I still have some at my house. I just made them a week ago. Anyway, and so I think, Chris, is there anything that you would like to tell foster parents who are considering being a foster parent? What would you like to tell them to encourage them, even though it might be hard for them to parent a child? To me, you were an easy kid, but what would you tell them?
To not give up hope, and keep on trying, even if it's like difficult at first. And I mean, I feel like it's difficult for the youth to come into a random home, not knowing them, and like let them settle down and get to know each other, both parties, and just take it slow.
Yeah, that's good.
Just take it slow and just write it out, or that's what I really can say. Just take it slow. Both don't know each other, or depending if they have more than one youth in the house, or it all depends on the situation the person's in and the situation they're in too. It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I felt like I knew you probably more than most kids that would come into my house, but there were still some telling things. I'll tell you one of the things, Chris, that I remember was you were standing in my kitchen, and we had just had some hot sauce or something, because we always ate hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
And you had something on your face, and I said, "Do you mind?" And I wiped it. I had a paper towel, and I wiped your face. And I remember, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a tear coming to your eye, and I suddenly realized that your mom couldn't see your face. And it wasn't her fault. Right? And do you want to tell a little bit about why your mom couldn't see your face and couldn't attend to you that way?
Can you repeat that again for me?
Yeah. Do you want to say why your mom couldn't see your face, and maybe that wasn't something you experienced before?
Oh, my mom was blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with my mom being blind and stuff, and my just having to take care of my mom as an early kid. I
Yeah.
was always had to take care of my mom and take care of my little sister, and my dad always had to work and stuff, so I always had a bunch of free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I remember the first time that you told me that you took your mom at 6, 7 years old on a bus from Hillsboro all the way to Oregon Health to the KCI clinic with the right amount of change, the right buses and all that. And I realized at that time you were likely a math genius and that
Yeah, I had to
you were
remember all
batting
the routes.
way below your batting capacity. And that's when the bar went up for me. I'm like, this child is genius. I'm going to make him do more.
Yeah.
And I was right because your math increased at school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many class I was passing.
That was awesome. And I think you would have probably been one of those people that would get into trigonometry and some other things. Do you think you'll stay in construction, Chris, or what do you think?
No, I'm probably gonna get into computer programming.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I probably want to do with my life.
Okay. That'd be cool. Want to get into computer programming to program games or
like
what?
coding.
Coding. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to say to Kristen or to myself or to foster parents?
And to not give up on people. Don't give up on people. Everybody goes around.
Yeah. Stay with us. I want to talk to Kristen. And if you have any questions for Kristen, feel free to butt in, okay?
Okay.
Okay, hang on a second. So, Kristen, you're here with Oregon Youth Authority, and you've been with the agency for how long now?
8 years.
8 years, okay. And before that, what were you doing?
Before that, I was a foster parent for 3 years for high needs youth.
Started out yourself a foster parent?
Started out as a foster parent myself.
Okay. And you started that in what, 2015?
I was a foster parent from 2009 to 2012, and then I decided to go back to college and work with youth in a different capacity.
And that's how I met Kristen,
Yes.
who was at college.
Yep.
It was cool. I was actually your psych teacher, right?
Yes. Yep.
That was fun. And so what made you get into this work? I mean, was it because you were a foster parent?
Yeah. So my last youth that I had, he was 14, came to me on probation at the county level, and there was just a lot going on with him. And really, I just thought that there was more that I could do because I didn't feel like there was enough accountability in the juvenile justice system. And so I decided, well, I think the only way I'm going to make a change is if I actually get involved, right? So I decided to stop doing foster care, went back to college where I met Faye, got an associate's in criminal justice, and started working with the Oregon Youth Authority as a group life coordinator.
Inside McLaren?
Inside Hillcrest, then went to McLaren when Hillcrest quit or shut down. And then in 2017, I got to take a huge jump and go into our foster care unit, which I felt like was just amazing, because I had
a full circle, right?
Yeah, I had foster care experience. Then I worked with our youth inside the facility, and now I get to help coach foster parents, to work with our youth that I had that one-on-one experience within the facility. So, yeah. So
coaching foster parents, so you're a certifier. You go out and literally certify foster parents to become
foster parents.
Yes. And now they're calling them resource parents. Is that the new word, or is it back to foster?
Not for us.
Okay.
That's for DHS.
Okay.
Because we're completely separate. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So good deal. I like it.
Yeah.
Because I hate changing those little woke names. They're annoying to me. But anyway.
Yeah.
So what is your why for you? Every day when you go to work right now, what is your why?
My why is to see change. So like Christian said, don't give up on kids because they need somebody to believe in them because they can change.
Yeah.
They're not so set in their ways that we can't inspire. And regardless, as foster parents, if we see that change, right? Like we know that we're planting seeds.
Yes.
That they'll come to fruition later.
Exactly.
But we may not see it, but we know that we're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about Chris right now is because he's out on his own right now. It wasn't like he jumped out into an apartment on his own right away, but now he's on his own, and we're only talking a year and a half later, basically, which is awesome. So the not giving up on students made me think of this. I grew up in foster care, and I think that's the thing that made Chris and I's relationship work is I knew how it felt to be in a strange home, and I knew how it felt to be the strange kid. You know what I mean? The one that didn't fit in, the one that wasn't part of the usual family. And so it always gave me a different edge, I think, than it did a lot of other foster parents. What about you? How did you grow up?
I grew up in a 2-parent household. I would say sheltered grew up in a Christian home. My grandparents were very involved on my mom's side. And, I say I lived a pretty good, perfect life, if you want to say that anything's perfect. But as a child, I thought I had a great upbringing.
Yeah. So that tells me that the spectrum of foster parents that can be recruited are anybody who's maybe struggled themselves or someone who's had an okay life.
And I just wanted to give back because I felt that I had a lot of love to give. And I had 2 little kids when I started doing foster care, and they loved it. They absolutely loved having a bigger family. They actually missed it when we stopped doing it. They're like, we miss having kids in the house. And, but.
And you still maintain relationships like I do with Chris with your foster kids, right?
Yes. I actually just had an hour-long conversation with one of my foster daughters yesterday. And I had one of my foster sons living with me for a little bit, but he just left last week, decided he wanted to go back to his dad's place, which is totally fine.
Yeah. So and that's I think that's awesome. So how hard is it to become, or how does somebody get involved first? And then we'll talk about how hard it is to get certified.
So just to get involved is just reaching out to a certifier, which I think you can probably provide some links or something.
Yeah, I will. I'll provide links on this feed to Oregon Youth Authority, specifically to Christin, and phone number for the office.
Perfect. But it would just be having a conversation. And even if you couldn't be a full-time foster parent, there are other ways to be involved. You could also be a respite foster parent, which is somebody that just gives breaks, which is what Faye started out doing with Christian, was she was just a respite provider. And so she would give the full-time foster parents a weekend or a week off, because we all do need our breaks, regardless if it's foster kids or not. We all need our breaks.
That's right.
And then we can discuss from there, what that looks like for you, the options, and what the qualifications are, and things like that.
I think it's also important, this is something that I wish more people would do, is have 2 or 3 families get certified with you as respite.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Don't you think? And then either that way you always have backup, and the family knows a lot of Christian knows a lot of my family. He knows my extended family. They were always around, friends and family. And frankly, I would have loved to have them certified before I got Christian, because any one of them just loved him. They just loved him.
Oh, and that would be an ideal solution for a lot of things.
One of the things that Christian and I did during COVID is we handed out food boxes. Do you remember that, Chris?
Yeah, I remember that.
And while handing out food boxes, we'd go to chambers and different things like that. And so Chris never lacked for a job, because he'd go to chamber and he'd say, I want to work. And how many people the first time? How do you?
I got a couple. Oh, yeah, from chamber, yeah. I worked a couple jobs for chamber, yeah.
Yeah, you did. And they still remember you. By the way, Mike said hi, and so did from Chicken Shack. What's his name?
Marquise.
Marquise said hello.
Yeah, okay. I see Marquise once in a while.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm glad. So how hard is it to get certified, Christin?
The hardest part is the want to. I will say that.
The want to?
Yeah.
Stepping into it.
Stepping into it, reaching out and being curious enough to talk about it. But other than that, it's not really that hard. We do a background check, both state and federal. As long as your background check comes back clean and you have, I don't want to say clean, because we do work with people that, may have a criminal record, but they've grown and learned, right? We're working with youth that need to see that as an example as well. So, don't let that discourage you if you have the heart and you want to give back to your kids. And then when we get done with all that, then there's an application. There is training. There's about, I think it's 36 hours. Don't quote me on that, but I think about 36 hours. And it's at your own pace in your own home. The only thing that you have to go out of the home for would be first aid or CPR training. Then we do a cleanliness and safety check of your home. Don't worry, I don't just come in and start doing a checklist. You know what I'm looking for. And any safety equipment that you might need, we supply, like fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, those kinds of things. And we also do a kind of an interview, I guess, so to speak. And that is for me to get to know who you are. So I ask questions basically starting from when you were little until your current time. And we talk about any trauma you may have gone through and any exciting, amazing things you've gone through, because I want to know how you celebrate the highs and how you work through the lows, because that's how you're going to work with our youth, because our youth are going to have victories and then they're going to have their lows too. And so that's pretty much the process. And then once all of that is completed, then you get certified and we start screening youth.
Which is really cool, because I've had other people at my house. I have a second dual living. And so we had a young man come out, and Christian got to be a part of interviewing him over on the Zoom during COVID, and say, because we wanted to make sure that while Christian was living with us, he is part of our family as much as we are. And so we wanted him to have that voice. And it's funny because he said, I think it'd be okay if he came on. But do you remember what you said, Christian, when we interviewed Alex? Do you remember what you said?
Somewhat, but I said a lot. But
well, I mean, you had reservations. Of all of us, you were the one with the most reservations. Do you remember that? Yeah, that's what I remember the most, because it was like you're like, I don't know if he's ready. That's what you said.
That's great.
Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ready. And he wasn't. You were right. In other words, your instincts were right. And one of the things that you and I have talked about, Christian, for future work is for you to do counseling, because he does have a good gut feeling.
Yeah.
Do you remember talking about that?
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, but the point is there's lots of levels of care. Literally, there's a lot of levels of care. And do you have to be like a therapist to be a foster parent?
No, you have to have no experience. You just have to have the desire to help. And we will coach you on all the things, and you're not going to be perfect, because who is perfect? And
even regular parenting, not perfect, right?
We can't just and we don't just hand somebody a textbook and say, here, this is a perfect parenting guide, because every kid is different.
That's right.
So you cannot you can't parent every child the same. And you will learn that. If you don't already know that, it is something that will come in time, and that's okay. That's why I'm here, to help coach you. And the other thing too, that I should mention, is that we work with youth ages 12 to 24. So we have the 12 to 18 category, which is typically your middle school, high school. And so you'll be, working with the youth that way, making sure they're going to school. If they're a little bit older and can get a job, they might be going to school and working or playing sports. And then the 18 to 24 category is more of our transition, and which we really could use a lot of transition homes as well. I mean, we could use all the homes, but we don't have a lot of homes for our 18 to 24-year-olds where they're wanting to go to college or save money to move out on their own. So, and teach them life skills. Yeah. And so those are two different style of homes that we're looking for, is people to work with the school-age youth, and then also our transition age youth.
Yeah, that's cool. And the nice part about that is because they're not in school, and typically they've completed most programs by then.
Yes.
Then you're ready to make sure that you can coach them into, resume writing, how to present themselves, things like that, interviewing and things like that, getting a job, and then making sure that they're tracking as a person who works.
Yes.
Because that, as sad as it is, the system doesn't really, if it weren't for how Christian and I operated in our home, the system doesn't really set us up for work. It kind of sets us up for being cared for. Yeah. And it's not intentional. No, and OYA is probably the best organization that I can think of that sets youth up for work, because they foster that, they encourage it. Levi was constantly excited about Christian's jobs. He would not go to his work and, become a problem. He'd come and say, hey, man, and he'd buy chicken or he'd buy, whatever.
Yeah.
He was in, visiting Chris wherever he worked, but he wasn't in there flashing a badge.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the other thing is that we try to be discreet, especially with our youth. I do have to do surveys every 6 months. So I go talk to our youth, and I tried to do it outside the home. I know there's a few times Christian was hard to get a hold of, so I had to track him down at the house. But, just making sure we have those checks and balances, because our biggest concern is our youth. But as a certifier, my concern as well is the foster parents, right? So I want to make sure our kids are being taken care of, but our foster parents' needs are being met as well.
Well, funny story, because Kristen and I have coffee anyway right now. I'm not having any kids in my house right now. And, but was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
If that, a week ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
it was
like that.
very recent. Yeah. And because we like each other. And so it's not a tracking down of any sort of negative thing. It's like, hey, is there any way I can support you? And I really appreciate that. And then the other thing that I like about what you guys do is you do meet with the kids outside of the home, because if there was a problem in the home, the youth should have a right to say something.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm thinking of myself as a foster child, you know what I mean? And boy, I would have sure liked to have, no one checked on me in the years I was in foster care from age 10 until 18. And I don't remember anybody alone with me by myself checking on me. How are you doing? Not once.
Oh, and that's what we tried to do is make sure that our
but that
youth
was through
have a
DHS.
voice. Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. DHS separate from us.
Yeah, totally separate. I think for me, the way OYA works is my preferred, because you have checks and balances with youth accountability, that you hold them accountable, and DHS doesn't. They are just very coddling and very, and I can say that as the foster parent. I'm not asking you to agree with me, because I know that we both have mutual friends in DHS. But the system of Department of Human Services, Protective Services, has a very coddling mentality over the kids, and not one that fosters kids to become effective, productive people. And they could learn a few things from OYA and the therapeutic community that you've created, frankly.
Well, that's a big compliment.
It's the truth.
We appreciate that.
Well,
that we try.
I chose to move from the DHS to OYA the last 2 years with Christian, or the last few months, actually. It was probably 18 months of the 2 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's just easier. It's just so much more supportive, and it makes more sense to me.
Well, and he was ready. He was completing that program as well. So he had been successful, completed a program. And then it was for you to keep him, to make sure he graduated. We just certified you as OIA, and then his PO kept him in your home.
Yeah. And we loved it. There was one point, Christian, do you remember about March of the year before you left? You were going home for spring break? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember what happened?
Somewhat.
There was a little incident, and it would have been normally an incident that would have removed you from home and probably put you. Yeah. And I remember us, you and me, when you came back, because I let you go on your home visit anyway, because keeping children from their parents because they make a mistake is a bad idea, especially when they're going home to their parents. And OIA and I agree on this. We dealt with the issue as a family when we got back, and I asked OIA to keep you in the home so you could be successful and graduate. And the reason I did that is because, number one, I love you and I want you to be successful. But I also wanted you to experience the adult success that people have when they make mistakes. They stand up, they dust themselves off, and they walk forward.
Yeah.
And you did that.
Yeah, we bounced back.
We bounced back. We totally did. And you know what? I didn't think less of you, and I don't even today. Those were important times for us as a family to be able to walk through. And I think that's the part that people, if they'll give this opportunity a chance to bring hope to a youth, is they'll develop a relationship with them like they would their own kids. Because if my own kid made a mistake, as he was making at that time, I would have done the same thing. I said, hey, we have stuff we need to do. We're moving forward.
Well, and that's the biggest part about being a foster parent is exactly that. We want them to have that, because our team is huge. So it's not just the foster parents where we're just like, here's a kid, have fun. You know, we have myself, the certifier, we have the POs, and then they might have a counselor, you know, so everybody is involved as a team, and we want them to make the mistakes while they're in our care and learn how to positively come back from it, right? Versus being out there flailing all by themselves and then have no idea the direction they need to go, so that if they learn with us as, you know, a team, we can all encourage them, show them the proper steps, so that when they are on their own, they're doing it successfully, right? Like, they're not going to be perfect every time, but they're at least going to have the tools in their tool belt to be able to maneuver that later in life.
Exactly. I think the other piece that got me with Christian specifically in our home was that he was always very caring.
Yep. I would agree.
And it was obvious to me that he had cared for his own family, that wasn't anything I instilled in him. His mother, his father instilled that in him. And he has a great mom and a great dad. It's just with mom being blind and dad working all the time, there was an inability of the supervision that a child between the ages of 6 and 13, when he ended up in the system, they need great amount of supervision. But if you can't, you can't. And I think that's the way the OYA also came around and supported the family. Does that make sense? By having this child in a home where they knew that they would be have eyes on them, but not exclude the family. Yeah, because home visits were a great priority with OYA.
Yeah, and that's what we
were in
want.
COVID, by the way.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the reasons that we moved to OYA is we saw the support of OYA with families, and the other program ended. And so we wanted them to be able to connect now and then.
Yeah, and we encourage that. We want that family connection, because if they can connect with their family and make sure that that's still a positive relationship, because with them in our care, they can talk about the things going on, and we can help them, maneuver that as well. Because sometimes it's not always positive, but we can teach them how to make it a positive and how to work through the things. So
Christian, this is something that I wanted to ask you. When you got back at home with your family, was it hard to go back home? Was it different? Tell us a little bit about your experience.
It was kind of hard. At the same time, I had to just figure it out on my own, because it's a different environment coming back home compared to West Salem, and I had my own room. And then I came back home, and I had to sleep on the couch and just a bunch of stuff. Then I had to just figure it out on my own. And just going outside where you're connecting with the old people and telling them that I'm not on the same things that I was on before I left. And I told them that I had to do better stuff for my life, and I had to grow up. You know what I'm saying? And just the different environments, and just how to use the coping skills that I learned over the years from being in Oregon Youth Authority, and I just had to apply them. Yeah.
And make it. What's been the hardest thing so far? You've been in your apartment about 2 months now. Is that right?
It was about like 3.
3? And what's been the hardest thing about being in your own place?
Probably picking up after my roommates.
Yeah. You can find yourself being the house parent, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find out who you really live, who your friends are when you live with them.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Now it makes you appreciate home a little more, doesn't it? I love it. Yeah. So, Christian, I guess the other question that I have for you is, can you tell us a little bit, how's your little nephew doing?
Oh, he's doing good.
How old is he now?
He's doing pretty good.
Is he 2? Just about?
I think it's about 3 now.
Oh, is he? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he just had his birthday not too long ago. His birthday's on my brother's birthday was on the February, January.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a couple months, like 3 or so.
And will you be 21 this year?
I'll be 20 this year in June.
20. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be 20 in June.
Okay, you're getting out of your teens. That's kind of frightening. So Christian turned 18 on the 7th of June, graduated on the 8th of June, and went home. And that was probably the most terrifying thing for me as a foster mom, because I'm like, But we had a great celebration, and OYA and all the mentors, Marlene, Levi, Kristen, everybody was there. Heidi was, it was just a really great time. Your parents were there. And do you still have your poster?
Yeah, I still have it, and the poster still have it. It's in my storage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So his poster consisted of family pictures, all of his family, our family, just the combination of things we did in the 2 years we did working with Rotary. Remember going out and working at the park?
Yeah, I remember going out to Rotary. Yeah,
we did
active.
Rotary, chambers of commerce, and all kinds of stuff. So what do you think you learned from the community events like Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, and the events I took you to? What was the most impacting?
To own a business.
Yeah.
To own a business. That's where that's where I feel like everybody that I met always had to own a business, or was really or pretty high up in the business.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. They either Mike and Marquis, and everyone you worked for owned their own business. So absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Kristen, can you think of anything else that potential foster parents would need to know that I'm missing?
A little bit about the process on how a youth gets placed. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So as I get to know you on a personal level, like I find your interests, what your likes are, what your dislikes are. We talk about the type of youth that you want to work with, whether it be boys or girls, ages. Like I just want to get to know you so that I get to know your household. Mm-hmm. And then I look at our youth that get referred to foster care, and I start thinking, okay, is this kid going to work? Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, we're not going to nail it every single time, but we are going to do our best at placing a kid. And it'll never be, hey, I have this kid, I'm going to drop him off at your doorstep tomorrow.
Right.
There's an interview process. Mm-hmm. I give you information on the youth so you can read through the packet so you know the kid that you're going to get as best you can. Then I also look at other information that we have in databases that y'all can't see. Mm-hmm. And then we talk about it and we decide, okay, so this is the youth on paper. I look back through the notes on that youth to see how they've been the last year. Mm-hmm. And then we talk about it and we say, okay, I think that this youth might be a good fit. Why don't we go ahead and screen them? So then I will set up a screening, and depending on where that youth is in the state, we'll do an in-person, if we can, at your home. That way they get to see where they'll be living and be able to interview you as well as you interview them. Then if that's not possible, we'll do a video or we'll do over the phone, just depending on circumstances and where they're at. And then if everybody agrees, yes, this is going to be a good fit, then we'll talk about placement. And then typically from screening to placement, it's usually within 1 to 2 weeks, just depending, sometimes faster if things move quicker and everybody's ready. And then that's how we do it. Like we don't ever blindside anybody with a kid. We always talk about it. Yeah. Everybody, including the kid, gets a yes or a no. Yeah. So it's never just a one-sided, I'll take them, and then it doesn't work. And, typically when we do that, the more I get to know the household, the better the placements are.
Yeah. And what I love also about OYA is that part, getting to know you enough to be able to suggest a certain child, and even to say, hey, I don't know if this is a good fit or not, but would you consider, to giving you that right to consider sort of thing. And this might be hard because of this, but we have this support.
Yeah.
So that's the other piece. So what are some of those supports that you have? Let's wrap around services. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's talk about actually, I don't want to call him a difficult youth, but I currently have a youth in one of my homes that has cancer.
Oh, wow.
So this will tell a little bit about how we try to help our families out. This kiddo has to go to chemo. Every 2 weeks, he has to go to chemo. So the PO picks him up and takes him to Portland. This youth currently lives in McMinnville.
So there's a support to the parent.
Yes.
The PO's taking him. Okay.
The PO's taking him so that there's not that transport obligation. Then I wasn't sure as a certifier how I could be helping anymore, right? Because I just want to help.
Right.
And so I talked with them, and they're an older couple. They're in their 70s. And So we talked about what looks like extra help for them, and they just wanted me to come visit. So I go once a week, and I go visit with them, and we just
That's where
chat.
you were headed the other day when you were at my
that's
house.
where I was headed. And so, that's how they feel like I'm supporting them, by just being there, being present. And our POs are helping transport with all the things that they can. While this kid also got diagnosed with cancer, he was going through treatment, and it attacked his pancreas. And so now he has got type 1 diabetes. And so the foster parents having to go and take classes to learn how to help him manage things. And so we've been giving her gas cards to help with the fuel cost. And then he's got counseling on board. So he talks to a counselor, I believe it's once a week for his treatment. And they just... anytime there's something that we need to figure out, we get creative with how to do things.
That's cool.
So again, I didn't know how to show more support, and we figured it out.
Right.
I'm just going to go visit and hang out for once a week.
And that's the difference too, is this idea that, we have procedures, we can't do that. It's no, how can we do that?
Yeah.
It's the how can we get to yes on this. And I have seen OIA be very yes and sort of amen on behalf. And the other thing I love about you guys is that as a Christian foster home, for me, I was never told that I couldn't interact with my son and go to church, because one of the things that Christian and I did is we attended church. Yeah. Didn't we, Christian? All the time.
Yeah, we went to church all the time, basically every Sunday. Every Sunday.
And sometimes...
or more.
And we served the homeless for Thanksgiving, and we did a lot of extracurricular church items. Just because it's just part of the culture of my household, right? And so that wasn't poo-pooed. So, in Christian, what were some of the services that you had that you feel like, besides OIA, that helped you?
Probably just going to church, connecting with the Lord, and connecting with myself. Yeah.
One of the things that happened for Christian when he was much younger is he got involved with a crowd that was a little rough. I'd call him rough. And Christian's a tender heart bearer. He's very tender-hearted. He's very kind. And he experienced trauma because of the roughness of that crowd. Do you care to share any of that, Christian?
Not really, but
okay, that's okay. You don't have to. And so, but the role that trauma plays then while you're foster parenting a child, if you don't take the time to hear what happened, you might see or say something, or they might see something that you're doing that might trigger that kind of trauma. And if you're not willing to look at what happened, then you might not notice, why are they behaving that way? And so I was always mentally checking in with Christian and saying, how are you doing? Oh, I know, Christian. I wanted to also ask you, when you came to me, how many medications were you on?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And when you left, how many were you on?
0.
That's awesome.
And who took you off of them?
Myself, and I didn't really want to take them anymore. I didn't need them.
Yeah, you chose that. And what I love about what Christian did is he began to think and evaluate himself and how he felt and what he was doing. And he realized, I don't need these meds. I can control myself. And he practiced self-control.
That's awesome.
It was really awesome. And OIA hadn't put him on the meds. The meds kind of came with the high amount of early trauma, right? But as he grew up and he developed skills to handle his trauma, right? And so those meds became less and less needed. And I think it was really only, in your case, it was only 3 or 4. But in some cases, kids come to you, don't they, Kristen, with many meds?
Yeah. And a lot of times we do see that after they get into foster care, that the foster parents, once the youth start settling in, they start, they have to initiate that first doctor's appointment, and they start talking to the youth, and the kids are like, well, I don't know that I necessarily need this one anymore. And the foster parents also will look at the kid and be like, hey, I don't think we need this anymore. And so then they'll go to the doctor and get it all figured out. And in Christian's case, he was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
There was no talking about it. And, so it works differently in every situation. But most of our kids do end up coming off of all meds if they can.
Yeah. And I liked it that he made his own choice around that.
Yeah.
And my job as a foster parent was to help him negotiate with the med prescriber that he did or didn't want to be on meds, or how much, or what he needed or didn't need, because it wasn't all take them all off. Yeah. He gradually stepped off
Tapered
of each
off.
one, of everything.
But he self-advocated.
Yes,
and
he did.
And that's what we want our kids to learn is how to self-advocate, because not a lot of these kids learn that skill.
Absolutely. And you, have you got a new prescriber for Tom, or did he retire or not? Tom Breyer?
I don't know. Who that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's my favorite. He'll listen.
Gotcha.
Yeah. To the child and to the parent, which is awesome. Not all med prescribers do listen, so that's important. So Christian, can you think of anything else that I have forgotten to ask you?
No, I think got it pretty good.
You think we got it?
I need to head out. I
Okay.
got an appointment. I need to go attend.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but
no, it's okay. We really appreciate you being on. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Christian. It was good to see you
thank
again.
Thank you. It was nice seeing you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, man.
Bye.
One of the things I did forget to talk about with the support piece is that as your certifier, I call once a week to check in, and that it does not have to be long and lengthy. I just want you to know that we're there to support. I come to your home once a month as well. This is a lot of checks and balances, but to show support for you as a foster home, but, to make sure that your house is staying, clean and tidy, because we want the kids to live in a good environment, and, just to be support.
Yeah. And it's not white gloved clean. I mean, you can have your laundry can be on your couch. That's not the issue.
Yes.
What they're looking for is things like, the sanitary type things. The toilets are clean, the kitchen sink. And
we don't have animal feces on the floor.
Yeah.
So,
which,
Yeah. And then also the PO too it makes contact once a month with the youth to support the youth. And then they check in with the foster parents every 3 months, I think, is where they're supposed to, since we do the majority of the check-ins with the foster parents, but then the POs are, they're supposed to check in with the foster parents as well. So there's lots of support. Somebody's always checking in. So you're never just out there to, hang by yourself. And then we do have after hours. So if you're not able to get a hold of your PO or your certifier, as we do have our work week schedule, and then we have after hours number that you call, and you can get support that way. But I will tell you that most of the certifiers answer after hours. Yeah. And the POs do too.
That's been my experience as well.
Because we don't like to leave you hanging. Now, if I'm out of town, I leave my cell phone at home. But
smart.
On the weekends, it is out, and the ringer is usually on.
Yeah. Well, I also found a good amount of support in the school system. We were at West High, and a little shout out to their just the group that supported us in school. So Christian, as I said, was brilliant, and it was kind of a kept secret, if you will, and so once that began to be known, the teachers just stepped into it, and they were just really super supportive. And so I can't remember all their names, but Mike, and there was a lady there, I can't remember her name, but she was fantastic, and she'll know who she is if she sees this. I got to visit with her, and the vice principal there was fantastic as well. She was very helpful. One of the things that happens when kids are in school sometimes is they can collate with a crowd that might be similar to the crowd that got them in problems. And so it's incumbent on a proctor parent to be involved in the school and to get to know the teachers and stuff. So they have that support on the inside and out there. So it's not as strange. We were in COVID times.
Yeah.
So everything was on computer.
Right.
So I had to physically go to the school and mask up, meet with the teacher and say, hey, I'm not seeing my son getting any assignments, and I want him to get his credits. What's going on? To check in, but that's the only COVID was weird
It was.
for everybody.
And thankfully, we didn't lose any foster parents, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's when I know that all the homes that I work with, they're in it for the right reason because they just shifted. They're like, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, when school started back in session, they're like, praise the Lord.
I know. I didn't mind having Christian home, though. I thought it was cool. I mean, because we just had a lot of fun. And he didn't have much work. That was the bad thing about school. They didn't have any challenge on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I really appreciate you being here, Christin, and I will put the links on there. You can definitely call Christin Pickle at OYA. What's your phone number? Right?
503-586-8015.
Okay, do that again.
503-586-8015.
Fantastic. And we'll try to get captions on this so you can see all those things as well. Best email for you.
It is Christin, CHRISTIN .pickle, PICKLE at oya.oregon.gov.
So you can hold up your cup. When she said pickle, she meant it. That's her last name. It's so cool. So thank you for being here, and we will definitely meet again sometime soon for coffee, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.